Hey everyone, so my internet has been going absolutely crackers. It's kicked me off the recording like 2 or 3 times. I've recorded a video about Iran and the Russian involvement with Iran, Israel, the Middle East. I did quite a long video on that and then the internet kicked me off. Now I've got a video there but it needs editing because there's like maybe 3 or 4 jump stops I need to do, jump cuts, sorry. So anyway, I thought while I was out here trying to finish this pie, hang on, can you see this? I don't think I'm going to be able to finish this pie while I'm eating this dinner, but we got some blackberry and apple pie that was homemade from our blackberries and our apples. But anyway, so the situation in Iran with, we'll talk about Iran first. So Iran have been asking to use, and I think they will obviously, Chinese satellites. Now the mainstream media reporting that this is to identify, it's raining, to identify targets inside Israel. This may be true, but I think the wider use for these satellites, and you've got to understand Israel, it's a tiny piece of land. You know, the Iranians will have enough human intelligence to be able to conduct whatever, missile strikes or whatever they want in that region. There's really no question of it. Now, what I think these satellites will be used for is in a wider Middle Eastern conflict where they would need to identify American assets, NATO assets, other assets in that region. So Air Force bases, runways, places that they can land troops. Because don't forget, not runways are not just used for fast jets. They can send in we don't use C-130s anymore, is it? It's the the A400s, basically the cargo planes that have got soldiers on the back and they can saturate the ground. So runways are not just there for, fast jets. They can be used for all sorts of things. And yes, I know you can land a C-130 on pretty much any desert strip, but anyway, in a wider region, that's what it'd be used for, to target these locations. And again, it's for a wider region. Now, with Russia's slowly being dragged into this conflict in the Middle East, and it's something that Russia doesn't really, if I'm being honest, Russia doesn't want to be dragged into this conflict, but I feel they don't have any other choice. So when Russia invaded Ukraine obviously put up a lot more resistance than anyone, even the I think even the Ukrainians, thought they would do. The byproduct of that is that the Russians now are they're not running out, but they're short on supply of their munitions, and their production capacity isn't what they thought it was. So they've had to outsource a lot of this to other countries. One of the main ones is Iran. Now that is seen most prominently with the Shahed drones. Now there's not just one Shahed drone, there's lots of different variants, but that's just one thing that the Iranians are supplying to the Russians. Now, with this conflict, obviously, the Iranians are supplying the Russians, so why wouldn't the Russians supply the Iranians with stuff? Of course they are. Now, as this build-up's happening, the Russians will be supplying Iran with stuff. That's how partnerships work. That's how alliances work. That's how the BRICS alliance is working. So as Russia's pumping more stuff into Iran, not least, I don't think, and this is me speculating, a lot of this is speculation, guys, because it's not out in the mainstream, and we have to say it's speculating, but I'm going to assume that they're going to be helping them with their nuclear armament program. Now, in America, on the 1st of November, there was a bill passed in the House of Representatives. Sorry, guys, I'm not all, I'm not 100% on how things work in America, but it was the House of Representatives. They passed the bill. It was Bill 559, and that basically says the opening line on my other video, guys, I share the screen with you. On the opening line, it says something like a nuclear-armed Iran would be unacceptable to regional security and global security. So basically, they're laying out now the terms and conditions for this conflict moving forwards. So they've already said that back in November 23. If Russia helps Iran develop nuclear weapons, then that would be a case for all-out war, the Americans to go to all-out war in the Middle East. Guys, you're seeing these things in real time happening. You're seeing these diversions happen. I'm not gonna mention it again on this video because I want to keep it short because I've done a deeper dive, and I'll try and get that uploaded tomorrow once I've heavily edited it. these things are setting up, and it really does remind me of the build up to the war in Iraq. You know, it was these little, oh, that's a bad angle. It was these little breadcrumbs that led us further down this road, and they led us further and further. And then there was the weapons of mass destruction. And guys, let me caveat this. Do I think Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction? I actually do. Were any found? No. So where are they? That's the bigger question. But anyway, that's the jux of this video, guys, all right? Russia is being dragged into the conflict in the Middle East, and they don't want to. Sorry, I missed the point. So with this conflict and the House resolution and the movement forwards of, you know, this nuclear armament program, what the Americans now have to, and I think I'm going to say the Americans, I'm going to try and cut Britain and NATO out of this, because I think Britain and NATO are going to be more primarily focused in Eastern Europe. What I'm going to say is the Americans and their allies in the Middle East have a choice now. Do they wait until Iran gets more weapons, more armaments, more training, more troops, more experience, until they get their nuclear program up and running? If a war's going to be inevitable, it's better to strike when your enemy's weak. So that's kind of the situation I feel the Americans are in at the moment. And of course, the Iranians will know this, the Israelis will know this, everybody understands this. And people are thinking 4 or 5 steps ahead. And we're like looking at things on the news and seeing them thinking they're happening now, but they're not. Things that are happening now have been already agreed months ago. Now, that was the jux of the video, guys, okay? The conflict in the Middle East is escalating. Russia's getting dragged into it. My video editing skills are terrible. And that's it, guys. I'm going to Mac to grid, and hopefully I'll get the full video of this subject uploaded tomorrow morning, I hope. And that's it, guys. Hope you have a good night. I'm going to enjoy my pie.